Welcome to the HR TailorMade live series, Conversations with Consultants. I'm your host, Dr. Tiffany Slater, and we are here in the holiday season and need to take time to rejuvenate instead of running around like chickens with our heads cut off, trying to get presents and plan holiday parties and all of those things. So I'm wondering, how are you preparing for the new year? Are you outlining your strategic plan? Or are you just finding time to do nothing and take care of yourself? Or are you planning to grow your team? What are you doing for the upcoming year? And how are you planning to prepare? So, whatever you do this month, make sure it includes some kind of self care and lots of you being kind to yourself and ensuring that you give yourself what you need to be happy, whole, and successful. My next guest certainly helps me to feel happy, supported, and successful. He is my Alexander. That's what I refer to. I call him my Alexander. He is my virtual assistant, Mr. Alexander Agent. Good morning, Alexander.
Good morning. This is so exciting, so fun.
Well, good. And you've, like, we were just talking about the fact that you've combed through like all of my conversations with consultants, and now you get to be one of my guests.
It feels like a major, uh, just a major treat. I've got to see. I think you've done like 25 plus episodes now. So,
Wow.
I've told you before, but I think that's really awesome, and I think that's really cool. So,
Yeah.
excited to be here.
Well,
Excited
good.
to be part of it.
Well, good. Okay, so here's my normal question. You ought to know it by now. Who are you and what do you do?
My name's Alexander Agent. I just founded Pain and the Assistant. It's a top to bottom business organization and automation consultancy for creatives and for small business owners.
Oh,
So basically, just meaning that I've been doing assistant work for 5 years at this point, 5 plus years, and I've worked for companies that are two-person teams. I've worked for companies that are I worked for National Geographic for a while, and so got a lot of experience from that, from all of those experiences, and from that got to kind of learn how to anticipate needs, how to just be a kick-ass assistant. Really, is at at the end of the day. Whatever your needs are, that's how I like to try and meet those.
I love it. So how did you get here? How did you get to a point where you decided that you wanted to start your own business?
I think that I'm still employed I work at a tech consultancy, and by doing it on my own freelance, I'm able to kind of utilize my skills and really hone in on what I enjoy doing and the specific tasks that I feel like I am an expert in and that I can bring to the table for bushels of companies. So like with you and I met last year. We were taking a course together,
Mhm.
and uh, you've gotten to see firsthand this growth for me that I've gotten to really, struggling with the name of the company to just figuring out what direction I'm going in, and now that we get to work together, and I think that it all started. My first assistant job was by accident. I live in Los Angeles. I was working 5 different jobs at the time. I was a tutor. I was a sub teacher. I had a serving job. I would do electronic merchandising at different stores, and I also dealt blackjack. And I was just always working. And a friend of mine was like, "Hey, I know someone who is in need of a part-time assistant. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "I already am doing too much. No, that's fine." And he was like, "No, you're doing this. I've already told her that you're interviewing." And so I went and did it, and it ended up being, the beginning of a really phenomenal journey. And it's something that I never would have thought to do per se, but it utilizes, like, I'm an organized person just by nature. I tend to gravitate towards type A. But I like to be casual too. So I think, a lot of being an assistant is just developing relationships and like I said, being able to anticipate and meet needs of people. So I love doing it, and I'm grateful to be able to do it
I
every
love
day.
it. I love it. So, Alexander, what is the biggest challenge you've seen business owners struggle with, and how do you help with that?
Time management, for
Yes.
sure. I would say that's definitely the biggest, and it's something I struggle with too. But I think that the most people don't realize where their time goes, and something that you and I have talked about, but that I've seen a lot is, well, one, it's a great thing to have empty time on your calendar. I think that's really important. And some business owners will fill up their day from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and just book it full with meetings. And I think that doesn't account for, sometimes after a meeting, you need time to marinate what the information was that you just had. Um, if you have an in-person meeting, I think the biggest piece of advice that I could give is, if you have an in-person meeting, schedule in your drive times as well,
Yes.
because some people will book a meeting 30 minutes before they have an in-person meeting or a lunch or whatever, or a doctor's appointment even, and it's like, okay, so are you taking the meeting while you're in the car? Are you going to, I think that it's something that, by simply putting in the time and always overestimating, like, if it's going to take you 40 minutes to get there, say
Yeah.
it's going to take you an hour, and it alleviates so much stress. It just makes your life feel better if you kind of have a better feel of, oh, where is my time actually going? And on top of that, you have a record you can look back on and say, like, wow, I I kicked ass today. Like, I did a lot of great stuff. So
Yes. Yes. And so, how do you help with that? Do you help? Do you manage the calendar? Do you remind us, hey, you're going to be in the car at that time? Do you really want to have that meeting?
I think it's one side of it is, I guess you could say, auditing a calendar, looking at it, saying, okay, you know, here's what you have going on. And something we've been working on is saying, like, how much time is being devoted to certain projects.
Yeah.
And then the other side is, I love Calendly. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that, it's something we haven't worked on too much yet, but Calendly is a great way to just automate your scheduling. I don't believe that you need an assistant to manage your calendar. I think you need an assistant to set up the system that is your calendar, because it's, James Clear. I don't know if you're familiar with James Clear. He says something to the effect of, like, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the levels of our systems.
Mm,
And your calendar is a system that propels you towards your goals. But if you don't have that system set up well, which Calendly allows you to do,
yeah.
then you're going to inevitably, like, that's how you fall behind. That's how you lose track of things. And a calendar tells you, a calendar event tells you who you're meeting with, what you're doing, where you're meeting.
Yeah.
It answers all five. What's the who, what, when, where, and why? It answers all five. So it's probably, I would say, the calendar is probably the most important tool
Yeah.
for business organization.
And I think that's really important because I totally agree with you in terms of the systems. I was spending so much of my time recreating proposals and invoicing and all of those things until I found the system that works for me, that allows me to not have to reproduce things every single time I needed to submit a proposal to someone. And it helps me automate the messaging that goes out and all of that. So I agree with you. And we use ClickUp, and I need to do a
Hmm.
much better job of getting in ClickUp and really using that more. But I agree with you. The systems are really important, and having someone like you to really help me stay in those systems and you organize them for me, it really saves me a lot of time. And the other thing that you do that I really enjoy is, if there is something that I don't know how to do in one of my systems, you will send me a video on how to do it. You will say, okay, these are the steps. Let's get it, sister.
Hmm. Well, and it's that's kind of the benefit of being able to work virtually too, I think, is like, oh, okay, so you like I can just show you kind of step by step, or I can go watch a YouTube video on, oh, here's how to do this step by step.
Yes.
The YouTube is a beautiful place,
Yes.
and there's you can really learn. I'll say if you know what you're looking for, you can find it to learn it. I think a big problem that a lot of people have, and the downside of that, all of the information can be free online, is when you pay for it in some capacity, then you can at least you have someone tell you what you need to know and tell you how to know that thing.
Yes.
So you don't get both of those whenever it's, oh, let me go search on YouTube. How do I use ClickUp? Like, that's
Yeah.
not going to help you. But how do I set certain times, or develop a project for, it could be, how do I develop a marketing campaign in ClickUp? You're going to get some really good feedback on that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and like you've got ClickUp, you've got like ConvertKit, you've got, and a lot of times sometimes it's helpful to hire just an expert for that software. And I think the fun part about being an assistant for me is that I get to be like, my goal is to be an expert in as much software as possible,
Hmm.
and getting to just really be, as many hands as I can be to as many people, as far as marketing goes, as far as, I love Google Drive. I love the organization that can come from that.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a big proponent of just keeping your organization digital, trying to get rid of papers as much as possible. I write on paper all the time, but I always try and translate it over to something digital. That way, you know, one, I can bring my laptop with me anywhere, or I can access Google Drive from a totally different computer and still have access to all of my stuff. So
So when you take notes, Alexander, do you go back, then later go into Google and type your notes in that you hand wrote?
I like to, if it's in a meeting, I'll type notes up, because I think that I can just, I type faster than I write. But if it's something that I'm trying to generate creative ideas, the speed is not always helpful. So I think it helps me actually to slow down, and just to like actually write, because my brain doesn't get caught up, and I can really, I've used this word already, but marinate and sit in those ideas.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. What is the biggest misconception about a virtual assistant? What do you think?
Uh, I think that it's that there are that virtual assistants should be, that there are no boundaries, maybe, is the best part. I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's something that I had to learn, and that's something that you've been really good at teaching me, and helping me to uphold.
Mm-hmm.
People oftentimes think like, oh, a virtual assistant, like, I'm going to email them at 11 o'clock at night, the project will be done the next day. And it's important to realize that virtual assistants and are people as well. And
Yeah.
I think the more that you can effectively communicate, and communicate expectations, communicate boundaries, communicate the details of a project. I've been, my least favorite feedback to receive is, I don't like this, or like, oh, this is interesting, but I don't know about it yet. And the reason why is because sometimes it's so helpful just to know. Like, I've worked on projects for uh, previous employers where it was like, it leaves you so open with direction. Like, okay, well, you don't like the font choice, you don't like the colors, you don't like the design element, you don't like the overall look of the page.
Mm-hmm.
I love using Canva, and that's something that can kind of be difficult, is whenever the feedback isn't specific enough,
Yeah.
that says like, oh, hey, here's the thing, or here's what I actually do like. And that is the most beautiful advice you can give, is saying, hey, here's this gift of, I really love this thing. What, like, let's craft more things like this.
Yes, yes, and that leads me to well let's stay with this one just a bit. You talked about boundaries, and that's a big deal. And what I love about what you're saying is that's true for anyone. Be it a virtual team member, be it a W-2 employee or a
Hmm.
contractor. I think the human thing to do is to realize that we are all people, and that no matter what your role is in the organization, we should not expect that you be available
Hmm.
at our every beck and call. I don't think that that's fair, because we don't want that. I don't want to have to be available to my clients every hour of every day. That's not why people start businesses.
Hmm. Actually, I heard something maybe a month ago that was the responsibility of other people is to push your boundaries, and
Mm,
and your responsibility is to enforce them.
yep.
And it's the simple idea that someone can say like, hey, is it okay if I CC you on 40 emails that I'm about to send to
Mhm.
people just so you have eyes? And you can say like, oh, you know what, like that's not exact, I don't think that's exactly a right fit, but I'd love to debrief about it, after the fact, or whatever the case is. I think it's just being able to set those boundaries and say, oh, let's have this meeting be 30 minutes instead of 45, or oh, I already have a doctor's appointment at that time. I used in a previous job, I would rebook my like doctor's appointments for very simple meetings. I would
Mm,
cancel like things that were very important for my like personal health.
yeah,
And that was I'll say it's been a really fun learning opportunity, just to say like, oh, you know what, I think that the more you put yourself first, the more you can help other people. Like
yes,
it's that concept of putting on your mask in the airplane before you can help other people.
I agree.
um
I agree. Yes. And thank you for always helping me put my mask on.
yeah, you it goes both ways. It goes both ways with you. You help me so much. So
Yes. So, what have you
um,
found to be the most challenging things that business owners have to navigate? Like, is it a software? Is it, I know we talked about time management, but what is that one thing where you're like, okay, you know it's coming?
there's I do think that there's an element of design that whenever it is, when people, it's whenever, and I really love working with businesses that are in a growth phase, especially like, oh, we're ready to hire a new team member. We're ready to like really scale our revenue up. We're in that good place, and there's certain things that at that foundational level that haven't been quite set yet. So um, it could really just be simple as branding or communication, direction, or maybe the logo is inconsistent, or maybe whatever it is. And I think that those things are really important foundationally to get down. And also just what is the vibe, like what is the design vibe, as far as
Wow.
really answering those questions, like what do you like, what do you not like. And I think whenever a lot of business owners are in that higher level thinking of, oh, this is like, I see this direction, our strategy is set, we're really growing, we're on TikTok and we're about to blow up, I can really feel it. It's like, oh well, let's hurry and get this other stuff, and let's really figure out like what do we like and what don't we like. Because once you're bigger, I think it's a lot more difficult to, and I'll say, whenever I was at National Geographic,
Mhm.
the if we had any, um I do holiday gifting. That's one of my favorites to do, and that's one of my favorite things to do as an assistant. And at National Geographic, we gave out 3,000 holiday gifts every year,
Mhm.
3,000 plus. And organizing that is one thing, but the real kicker was getting the holiday card copy approved, because it's the National Geographic brand is so tight and so specific, and that's what makes National Geographic so beautiful as well, I think. But is it had to be approved by, I think, 8 different executives, and then it goes to their team first for approval. So I would send it out on a Monday, and it'd be like Thursday night, and I'm like, I'm supposed to send this card out tomorrow. Has anyone approved it? And if any changes got made, and then it would have to go back through that loop. And I guess my point is that I think when you set those foundations and you're able to communicate that better, it's so much
Mhm.
easier to, when you scale to be possibly a mega corporation, or even just the 2, 3, 4, 5 member team, you have that culture set, you have the communication standards set, you have the design ideas set,
Mm.
and everyone knows what the flow of the business is going to be.
Yeah, I like that. And that's probably what a marketing person would say too, is really get your branding and your foundational pieces in place first. And that's probably very true for a lot of us business owners, that those are not the things that we think about when we first start. We are trying to get our clients and we're trying to
Hmm.
make sure that our operations are where they need to be. So I like that a lot. And I love how you can actually help me with those things and have helped me with those things. So, our work together has definitely been a potpourri of tasks and projects.
Hmm.
Yes.
No.
So, Alexander, what would you say needs to be true for a productive virtual assistant and owner relationship?
Yeah, I would say it probably depends on those two individuals specifically, but I definitely would think that clear communication, and this probably goes true for any type of business relationship, especially for a small business owner. But if you're not able to communicate what you want and what you need, then I think you're going to have a very hard time being in business. And being an assistant really works. What I love about my job is I'm an appendage of the people that I work for. I
Yeah.
ex- Part of the expectation for me is that I'm able to communicate on your behalf. I'm able to create on your behalf. And if I don't know who you are, and if I don't know what the business is,
Mhm.
it's very difficult to do those things. I can't
Mhm.
operate as your right hand if you've cut off your arm, right? Or if you don't know what you're talking about yet, if you don't know quite what you're doing, it's very difficult to I don't know. It's I On a neurological level, like that's how the body works. It's all communication. One part of your body says, "Oh, let's do," or "Oh, that stove is hot." Then something else says, "Pull your hand away."
Yeah.
If you don't have that in your business, then I think it's very difficult. So that I think that would be the most important thing is communication and empathy. Like
Yes.
empathy is paramount to anything.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Alexander, why should people call you?
I think if you're interested in growing your business and scaling your revenue, if you are interested in new creative design or maybe some new feedback, if you just want something audited and you're like, oh, I don't know about this, or I don't know, like I need a second set of eyes on this. I love doing that. Uh, I think that if you just need some help, and if you aren't sure what direction to go in, strategy is something that I really enjoy, and I've
Mhm.
gotten to learn from the big dogs and big companies and whatever. And uh, I think that if you just whatever you need help with, I'm here to help with. So
I love it. I love it. Well, Alexander, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. We can talk for hours, just about
that really though.
exactly. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you dropping in and sharing your lovely face with the people who follow conversations with consultants. And people can reach Alexander at alexanderagent.com. And your website is everything. So I hope that they take a moment to check you out and have a conversation with you so that they can see how amazing you are and how you can really help them to level up. So, thank you so much, Alexander.
Well, thank you. Every moment with you is a pure delight. So thanks.
Aw,
I really mean it. I really appreciate it. So you're
thank
wonderful.
you. Thank you, Alexander. All right, everybody. Well, I just love my Alexander, and I hope that if you are in a position where you know that you need an Alexander in your life, that you will go to alexanderagent.com and book some time with Alexander, because he has definitely helped me, and he's amazing. He's just a wonderful human being. So I hope that you'll take time to reach out to him. And again, thank you so much for being here with us and watching today. I am Dr. Tiffany Slater, the CEO of HR TailorMade, the HR solution for small organizations. And until next time, I hope that you will be very kind to yourself because you deserve it. Have a wonderful weekend.